Good morning. I am Shayna and this is our USO Slow Flow. Today we're going to be focusing on doing a little heart opening, creating some space for deep, full breaths. So let's begin by coming to our mat or our space, having a seat, whatever position is comfortable for you. And then trying to find some good alignment here. Taking those shoulders over hips, no leaning forward or backwards if we can help it. And as we inhale, let's raise the crown of our head just a little higher towards the sky. As we exhale, let's draw our shoulders down. Inhale and exhale. Begin to notice the way the breath feels within your body. Noticing without judgment whether you are breathing into your chest or your belly. Noticing if your breaths are deep or shallow. Noticing if they're fast or slow. Noticing if they're coming to you easily or if there's a little difficulty this morning. Maybe you're a little congested from allergies. Maybe you're a little raspy. Whatever the reasons, just noticing the breath. Let's try to create a little bit more space. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Draw those thumbs back as you reach your fingertips up and your shoulders down, creating plenty of space all around the torso. Breathing in even more deeply. And relaxing, allowing the breath to release on its own. Taking a few breaths here. Before releasing your arms back down. Taking a moment to feel the breath throughout the entire torso. Noticing how it feels through your ribs, through your belly. Noticing the side body, the ribs at your side as they expand to allow room for the lungs to fill. Noticing your back. Noticing your posture, seeing if you can sit up just a little bit taller. Making sure that we have as much room for that air to enter the lungs as possible. And then taking the hands to heart, continuing to breathe deeply. Setting your intention for today, what you hope to achieve through your yoga practice. Seeing if you can, in your mind, just for a moment, see yourself already having achieved that goal. And put it into a positive I am statement. I am relaxed. I am flexible. I am healthy. I am happy. Whatever your goals are, say them to yourself 3 times now. And then release the hands back down. We're going to come up to the front of our mat. So just as we did in our seated position, but with feet hip-width apart, lift those toes, spread them wide, sink them down into the earth. Find your most centered posture, making sure you're not leaning too far back or too far forward, trying to stack those shoulders over hips, hips over knees, knees over ankles, as close to this position as you can get, and then breathing deeply. Maybe even sighing it out. Maybe you're not a morning person or not a Monday person. Maybe you're watching this video later and you've had a tough week. Whatever the case is, take a few more deep breaths. Sighing it out, or just letting go on each exhalation, relaxing just a little bit more. Feeling the way the ribs expand on the inhalation. Feeling the torso soften and relax, especially through the shoulders on the exhalation. Feeling your feet and how they stay engaged, pressing down into the earth, rooting you, keeping you tall and strong. On our next inhalation, let's sweep the arms up overhead. Reach those fingers high, draw those shoulders up, back, and then draw them down as your fingers continue to reach up high, fingers spread wide, maybe even wiggling. Breathing deeply here. Noticing if there's any change in the quality of breath now that your arms are elevated, now that there's more room for those ribs to expand. Noticing even the back and the sides, any movement that you can feel as the breath moves in and out. And if you don't feel it yet, that's okay. Just begin to envision yourself as a cylinder. As you inhale, feel yourself expanding in every direction. As you exhale, feel yourself contracting. One more deep breath in, reaching those fingertips as high as you can get them. On the exhale, begin to hinge at the hips. Keep your spine long and straight, lowering down halfway to start. Keeping just a little bend in the knees, no locking them out. Take your hands to your thighs. As you inhale, reach the crown of your head away. Draw those shoulders back and down on the exhale. Deep breath in. See if you can keep this length and straightness in the spine as you fold forward a little bit more, stopping once you start to feel that stretch intensify. Keep those shoulders drawing back, that heart forward and open, a little more space for you to breathe. Deep breaths here. One or two more. And then relax through the knees. Let them soften and bend a little bit more as you take your hands all the way down to the earth. Shrugging your shoulders a couple of times. Turning your head side to side. Begin to relax and soften through the torso. Let your body hang a little bit more. Maybe even grabbing opposite elbows. Letting your torso grow heavy and long. Your head relaxes downward. Letting your legs be the only things doing the work here, so much as is possible for you. And if you feel unsteady, you can always release your hands back down to the ground to give yourself a little bit more support. As we inhale, we're going to lift our hips a little higher. As we exhale, we're going to soften and bend through the knees once again.
Hands can be at elbows or on floor. Inhaling to lift. Exhale, bending and relaxing. Repeating this once or twice more. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to relax. Grabbing those elbows once again if you're not already holding them. Inhaling, lifting the hips. Straightening those legs as much as you can without locking up the knee. Exhaling, seeing if you can let go of that torso, let it hang nice and long. It doesn't matter how low you are. What's important is getting some length through that spine and a nice deep stretch through the legs. If it feels good to you, you can even begin to sway gently side to side into a little swaying ragdoll. You might even want to incorporate a little bit more of a bend in the knees as you go. With legs straight, release your arms. Let your hands come down to your shins, your thighs, or the floor, trying to make your back long and flat like a tabletop, even if that tabletop is sloping down just a little. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, press your hands into your legs or the floor. Reach the crown of your head long and far away, creating more space in the spine. One more deep breath in. Exhale, hands all the way down to the floor, bending into the knees as needed. Step it back with the right leg. Coming into our first lunge, we want to let our body settle into this position before we force anything deeper. Just noticing how your hips feel, how your thighs feel. Noticing each of the joints in the wrist, the ankle, the knee, the hips. Noticing each of the muscles in the feet, the lower, the upper leg. Noticing the glutes, noticing the belly, noticing the low back. And now trying to square up the hips a little bit more. Instead of one hip way back and one hip way forward, let's try to make them more or less even with each other. Doesn't have to be perfect. Begin drawing that front hip back, that back hip forward. Feeling the stretch. And then slowly relaxing that back knee down, untucking that toe. Relaxing through the hips, letting them sink down naturally on their own. Deepening through the stretch here. And if you feel like you're pushing forward rather than lowering down, tuck your toes, push your heel back to slide your knee back a little further. And that'll give you a little bit more room for your hips to relax and stretch. Continuing to breathe deeply. Shift your weight back slightly to free that front leg. Step both knees back towards one another and push back into your first child's pose of the day. Noticing how the shoulders feel, how the back feels, the neck, the hips, the knees, the ankles. Shifting and adjusting until you can find a good stretch without any pain. Remembering that we never want any pain in any of our yoga poses. That this practice is entirely your own, and if anything doesn't work for you, simply change it or leave it off. Take another deep breath in.
And on the exhale, see if you can relax those shoulders, relax that chest a little bit lower. Reach your fingertips a little farther away. Remembering that we're here to feel a nice deep stretch. Even though our bodies may not be used to it, may have the urge to resist or fight it. If you feel your muscles tensing up, mentally tell them it's okay, this is what we're here for. And knowing that you're in control, you can go deeper or come out at any point in time. So if you feel like you want to go a little bit deeper, press palms into earth. Inhale, reach the spine up tall, walk the fingertips back slightly if you need to. As you exhale, press your palms into the earth, send your hips back towards your heels just a little bit more. Draw your shoulders into their sockets. Relax your head down to the floor if you can. Forehead could be on the ground or cheek. Adjust your arms as you need to be able to relax a little deeper into this. Noticing any parts of your body that are resisting. If your hips are a little tight today, or your knees. If your shoulders are a little tight. Press down into the palms, lift back up onto your knees, and take your knees out wide. Begin to push your hips gently back and rocking gently forward. It doesn't have to be a big movement. And just adding a little bit of movement into the hips, waking them up a little bit more before we push our hips back. Settling back down into our child's pose. And your child's pose may be up high like this, and that's okay. So long as you're feeling a nice supported stretch. With each exhalation, you may take the chest a little lower. You might even find that you can place the chest on the ground, or even the head on the ground. Remembering that this is your individual practice, your pose may not look exactly like mine. Feeling that stretch through the hips. And if those hips begin to tense and resist, see if you can mentally tell them it's okay. This is what we're here for today. And then taking your focus back to your breath. Noticing where you feel that expansion coming from. Belly, the front ribs, the side ribs, or the back. And any of the places that you're not noticing it, seeing if you can direct that breath there, telling that side body to expand a little more, giving it a little more space. Mentally breathing breathing into the back, feeling those back ribs expand. Imagining once again that cylinder getting larger on the inhalation and condensing down on the exhalation. Stay here for just a couple more breaths. See if you can relax whatever part of your body is still holding tension. And slowly pressing down into your hands and arms. Begin to walk those knees back in towards one another. We're going to stay low for our first low plank of the day. Hands can be underneath shoulders or slightly apart. We're going to shift our weight forward, engage our cores, draw those elbows in towards another, draw those shoulders and shoulder blades back and down. Seeing how long and flat you can get your plank, not letting the hips drop or the butt stick up too far. Trying to keep everything as long and flat as you can. Engage that core. 1 or 2 more deep breaths. On the exhale, lowering down to the floor, seeing if you can bend very slowly through the elbows, keeping them close to the ribs, keeping the shoulders in their sockets, the back flat, until you've lowered all the way down, hands under shoulders, readjusting if you need to get them back into place. Elbows close to ribs. Coming into our cobra. Gaze looking forward. Only so high as we can come up without pressing into our hands. You might even lift the palms up to the ceiling and just rest here. And this may look a little different. You may only have the gaze lifted very slightly, and that's okay. From here, as you inhale, see if you can lift the crown of your head up a little higher. Place the hands down on the ground. Breathing deeply, settling into this, feeling that gentle, natural stretch through the back. Legs pressing down into the earth. Heels lifted high. Release everything back down. Noticing once again the feeling of your breath as you inhale. Feeling the release as you exhale. Drawing those elbows in towards the ribs, hands still under shoulders. We're going to lift back up into our low plank, knees still on the ground. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, press down into your palms. Try to keep those shoulders flat, lifting all the way back up. Pushing back through the hips, coming into a little offset tabletop. Tucking your toes, taking the knee slightly forward if you need to, and then stepping, walking, sliding that right foot back forward, coming back into our low lunge. Tuck your back toe, lift that knee, push that heel back, and settle back in. Trying to keep our knee far enough back so that we're not straight down on the kneecap. We want our weight shifted forward, helping to protect that knee joint. Noticing the stretch on this side. Noticing the difference between one side and the other. For me, I get a much more intense stretch with my right leg forward than my right leg back. Without judgment, just comparing the two sides. Noticing how each feels. And I'll be honest, right now I'm thinking I feel like coming out of this is a very deep stretch today. Begin to wonder why. Consider what might have caused one side to be different. I tend to sit more onto my right hip with my left hip raised slightly. Or I'll cross my left leg over my right more often. There's no judgment in this. No blame, no accusations. Just awareness. Just consideration. Maybe I'll try crossing my right over my left more. try to bring a little more balance into my body. And now beginning to square up those hips. Instead of that right hip reaching forward, that back reaching back, we're going to try to draw that back hip forward, that front hip back, squaring up the hips just a little bit more with the front of the mat. This will intensify your stretch. Breathing deeply into it. On the exhale, seeing if you can relax just a little bit more. Let go of those muscles that are holding everything in place. Using only the net effort that you need to. And letting go of any resistance that you can to allow that stretch to happen. One or two more breaths here. And then tucking that back toe, lifting that knee. We have a couple of different ways to get back to our forward fold. One easier way might be to begin to scooch the knee up a little at a time. You could tuck the toes and step the foot all the way forward. However you want to get there, whatever works for you, come to your forward fold with hands flat on the ground, feet hip width apart, trying to keep our feet even, so turn those feet in so that they're parallel to one another, adjust your heels as needed. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, relax through the spine. As you inhale, press down into those feet, lift those hips a little higher, extending the legs just a little bit, keeping just a micro bend if you're able to fully extend the legs so that you're not hyperextending, not straining the joint. And then as you exhale, see if you can release your torso down, release your head, let everything dangle and relax that's not needed. Even grabbing opposite elbows, coming into your ragdoll pose once again. On the next inhale, taking hands to legs or floor, pressing into the legs, extending the back long. Long, straight legs with a micro bend. So we don't want to be rounding forward. As we inhale, let's reach the crown of the head forward. Exhale, draw those shoulders back and down. Long, flat backs. Draw your belly in to elongate your spine a little bit more, keeping everything a little straighter. Breathing deeply. Noticing the space into which you're breathing. Noticing the belly, the ribs, the sides, and the back. Seeing if you can feel that full cylinder of breathing. On the next exhale, relaxing forward, bending into the knees just a little. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, coming all the way up into our extended mountain. Fingertips raising up, shoulders drawing down, thumbs reaching back, gaze lifted. Just a little mini back bend here. It doesn't have to be much. Keeping that core engaged to stabilize you and breathing deeply. Feeling those ribs expand on the inhalation. On the exhale, forward fold. Hands back down to the mat. Step it back with your right leg this time. Noticing how the hip feels. Draw that front hip back, that back hip forward. Slowly lower and relax that back knee down, untucking the toes, noticing if you feel a good stretch here, and if your knee is slightly behind where you're putting the weight down. We want that knee back behind with the weight going forward of the kneecap. If it's not, or if you need a deeper stretch, tuck your toes. Put push your heel back to deepen the stretch and relax everything back down once again. Take your focus to that area where you feel the deepest stretch. I want you to imagine that you're breathing in soothing white light or energy. And as you exhale, direct all that energy, all that light to the area where you feel all that tension, where you feel that stretch happening. Imagining that that light, that energy is melting away the tension. Letting those hips relax just a little bit more, the stretch deepen. Begin to engage your core, draw that belly button in towards the spine. We can either sweep the arms up, or for our first time coming up, just take one hand to the knee and then the other, making sure you feel steady here. Core stays engaged. Shoulders back and down. So if you're wobbling a little, just stay here. But if you're feeling steady, release first one arm up and then the other, keeping those shoulders drawing down, those fingers lifting. Take your gaze up if you're steady. Take your gaze down if you're unsteady. Or if you feel a little somewhere in the middle, you can keep your gaze forward. Wherever your gaze is, as you inhale, feel that expansion through your ribs. Imagine drawing in that white light, that energy into your heart, into your lungs, into your full core and torso. As you exhale, feel that energy staying. Inhale, drawing in air and energy. Exhaling, releasing only air. As if you're a battery being charged. As your body starts to resist the stretch, starts to buzz and become alive, to tremble, imagine that it's that energy that you're drawing in that's causing that movement. Feel yourself becoming more and more energized. One more deep breath in. Exhale, hands back down to the mat wherever they are. Taking a moment just to steady yourself, find your center. Adjust your hands as needed. Tucking that back toe, lifting that knee. We're going to shift our weight back slightly, coming into our plank. Either keeping it up high, trying to keep those shoulders in the sockets, the back long and flat. If you need to, you can lower down to your knees at any time. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, shift your weight gently forward. Begin to bend into those elbows, lowering down as low as you can come, all the way down to the belly. Walk your hands in under your shoulders if they're not already there. Draw elbows towards ribs. Deep breath in. Press into the earth. Lift through the crown of the head. Holding here in our cobra. Legs pressing down into the earth. Trying to keep a soft engagement, so not squeezing and clenching everything, but letting everything work gently. Noticing the inhalations. Seeing if you can deepen your inhalations. Feel that movement throughout the ribs, the belly, the back, and the sides. One more deep breath. And on the exhale, lower back down. We're going to be making our way into our first downward dog. So tuck your toes. And if you're a practiced yogi, you may lift right up into your downward dog. If not, that's okay, just follow me. We're going to press down into their palms and push back onto our knees. Once we're here, we're going to slowly push our palms down and forward and see if we can lift our knees up and push our hips back. So we're in a downward dog sort of already. We're going to try to straighten out.
First, let's straighten the spine. Press your palms into the earth, push your hips back, and try to lengthen and extend your spine. Long, flat back. Imagine doing just what we do when we're in our half lift. Inhale, push your palms into the earth. Exhale, push your hips back. Draw your shoulders back into their sockets. So you can keep this bend in your knees or begin to pedal the heels one at a time down towards the earth. If your heels reach, they can go all the way down to the floor. If you notice that the length isn't quite right, take just a half of a step forward or back to accommodate your downward dog. Either continuing to move through the heels or finding stillness and taking several deep breaths. Now trying to get our chest a little closer to our thighs. Take a deep breath in, lift through the hips. On the exhale, push the chest back a little bit closer towards the thighs, keeping the spine long and straight. Making our way into a lunge with the left leg forward, we're going to take our gaze up between the hands. And however you prefer, you can make your way into your lunge, either by stepping the foot in baby steps, or taking the knees straight to chest and stepping it through. However you have a preferred method is fine. Just meeting here, noticing the way the hip feels with the left leg forward. Lowering down that back knee, untucking those toes, feeling that deep stretch, adjusting as needed. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, engage the core. Take the hands up to the top of the thighs or sweep the arms straight up overhead into your low crescent lunge, keeping that core engaged. Gaze can lift if you're feeling steady. It can go forward if you're feeling so-so, or it can go down if you're feeling unsteady. Breathing into the ribs. Breathing into the belly. Noticing everywhere you can feel that movement of the breath coming in. Seeing if you can become that cylinder once again. Inhaling, breathing in, white light. Exhaling, holding it in as you release the air. Inhaling in that lighter energy. Exhaling, releasing only air. Feeling yourself becoming charged as your body gently becomes alive with the energy vibrating or shaking. A couple more breaths here. On the next exhale, releasing the hands back down to the ground. Noticing where you feel that tension this time. Once again, inhaling, drawing in that white light or energy. As you exhale, send that energy to the spot that's still holding tightness. Feeling it melting and relaxing the tension away. Squaring up the hips a little bit more. Continuing to direct that energy to the area with tightness. And tucking that back toe, however you want to get it there, bringing that back foot to the front of the mat.
Coming into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Draw those shoulders back, reach that crown of the head away. Exhale, forward fold, hands dangle down. Everything long and heavy, feeling that deep stretch through the legs. Noticing the feeling of the breath. Gentle bend through the knees. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, reach fingertips high, draw shoulders back and down, draw thumbs back slightly, deepening the back bend as we inhale and sigh to release. Feeling that movement through the ribs, through the belly with every breath. Seeing if we can deepen and expand. One more deep breath in. Exhale, forward fold. Make your way back into your plank, either lunging one leg back and then the other, or if you want a little bit more of a challenge and to get your heart rate up, bend to the knees, take your gaze back to the back of the mat, and hop it back into a plank. Begin to draw your elbows towards one another. Shoulders into their sockets, long, flat back, knees down if you need it. Core engaged. Deep breath in, reach the crown of the head slightly forward. Exhale, bend into elbows. Inhale, come up into cobra or upward dog. Either knees and hips down or knees and hips up. Not one of each, just to protect the joints and the spine. And then slowly lower down to your belly. Make a pillow for your head. Breathing deeply here. Noticing how it feels to inhale when the chest and the belly are pressed into the mat. Noticing where you feel the movement coming from. Seeing if you can deepen that breath just a little bit more. See if you can soften and relax a little more on the exhale. We're going to make our way into a locust pose. Locust pose has many variations, and the one we're going to do today is going to focus on heart opening and lifting up the chest. If you have another favorite variation of locust pose, you are welcome to do that one instead, or just follow along with this one. So let's take our hands back to our thighs. As we inhale, we're going to lift the crown of the head, roll the shoulders up and back, breathing deeply. Exhale, bring it back down. Inhale, lift the crown of the head, roll the shoulders back and down, lifting as high as you can. Breathing deeply, feeling the movement of that inhalation coming into the chest. Exhaling, relaxing it back down. Alright, we're going to go even higher with our hands bound. So if you can, we're going to reach back and we're going to clasp hands. If this doesn't work for your body, if you have any kind of elbow, shoulder, or wrist injury, and this is too intense or painful for you, please come down and do the hands on the ground variation instead. Just taking a couple more clearing breaths. Grabbing hold of that hand, that wrist, somewhere we can safely bind the arms. Then inhaling, lifting through the crown of the head, reaching those arms towards the buttocks or down towards the toes. Inhale, lift again. Roll those shoulders back and down, lifting even higher. breathing deeply, feeling the legs press into the ground without clenching, without becoming tense themselves, just active, just supportive. Noticing the way it feels to inhale here. Noticing the movement through the body as you inhale. Maybe even trying to lift the arms off of the body, coming up ever so slightly higher, breathing deeply. One more deep breath. And then exhale, deflate back down to the ground, releasing the arms down, taking the cheek back down to the earth. Take hands under shoulders. As you inhale, lift up and back, pushing your hips back over your heels. Letting your forehead, your cheek, top of your head, whatever reaches, relax down on the earth, if that feels comfortable to do. Continuing to breathe deeply. Noticing your shoulders, and if they're shrugged up towards your ears, drawing your shoulders back down and into their sockets. Reaching your hands down towards your heels, letting your shoulders roll forward, feeling that stretch through your back in the opposite direction. Relaxing the shoulders as far forward as you can get them. Feeling that inhale come through the back body, through the spine. Feeling your inhalation carry you ever upward. Feeling the shoulders sink a little lower on the exhalation. Adjusting your head and base as needed. Taking your hands back to the floor in front of you, reaching those fingertips forward. We're going to come into a slight side stretch. So walk the hands off the mat in one direction. We're going to inhale, trying to reach through the side body, reaching away from the hands. Inhaling, feeling a deep stretch come through the side, maybe even through the armpit. As you exhale, try to relax everything downward. Inhaling, expanding out to the side. Exhaling, relaxing downward. Let's try to deepen this just a little. Inhaling, expanding out through the side. Exhaling, pressing palms into the earth, pushing hips back towards heels on the exhale. Inhaling to the side. Exhaling, pushing hips back. Holding here. Being aware of the breath. Feeling that movement through the torso and the belly. And taking the hands back through center. Holding for a breath. And then taking the hands off the mat into the other direction. This time breathing into the side body away from the hands in this direction. Deep breaths in. Exhale and relaxing downward. Deep breaths in. Exhale, relaxing downward. Deep breath in, still reaching through that side body. Exhaling, relaxing downward one last time. Deepening the stretch, we're going to inhale, expand through that side body. Exhale, push hips back over heels. Inhale, side body. Exhale, push hips back to heels. One more time, inhale, side body. Exhale, hips back. Relaxing everything downward. Noticing the way the breath feels on this side. Being aware without any judgment. Noticing if one side's a little more tense or tight than the other. And then slowly walking the hands back through center. Walk the hands in just a little bit. We're going to press down into our palms to come back up. We want to have our shoulders stacked over our wrists, our knees underneath our hips. March out the knees, and that can actually help you if you are not in alignment. The body naturally will begin to adjust just from that straight up and down lifting of the knees. We're going to draw our elbows together, draw our shoulders back and down the spine. Take a deep breath in, lifting the gaze to the ceiling. Exhaling, taking chin to chest, reaching that spine high. Inhaling, lifting the gaze, letting the belly relax and lower downward into our cow pose. Holding for a breath or two. On the next exhale, drawing the belly in, gaze down towards knees, thighs, or all the way towards the chest. As you inhale, press the palms down in the earth, lift the spine. Feel that expansion come through the back. Noticing where each breath is going. On the next exhale, releasing the belly down. On the inhale, back into our cow pose. Belly sinks, gaze, lift shoulders, draw back and down. Exhaling, drawing the belly back in, coming to a flat back. Deep breath in once again. Exhale, drawing that belly in, rounding the spine, gaze towards knees or all the way up to the chest. Feeling the deep stretch through the back in your cat pose. Holding for several breaths. Taking toes to touch, walking knees apart as the back flattens back out. Knees can come off the edge of the mat. Wherever feels good for you, gently rocking forward and back just a couple of times. And on the next time the hips go back, continue to push them back towards the heels, coming into your wide-legged child's pose. You can stay up high or begin to lower down, taking forearms to the ground if that feels good. Head and chest can relax down on the mat if they have the ability to do so. I have a microphone in the way, so I'm going to keep my head lifted, but ideally you want to be relaxing the neck downward, even taking the cheek to the mat. Breathing deeply. Draw the shoulders back into their sockets, relaxing the shoulders downward, not making them do any undue work. As you inhale, filling once again with that white light, that energy. On the exhale, seeing if you can direct it to anywhere that's still holding tension. Feeling the heat of the light melt the muscles, melt the tension. Sending a little warmth and happiness their way. Slowly pressing palms into the earth, coming back up, bringing knees back together. We're going to push back to sit down to the side. Come down to your bottom and extend out long across your mat. We're going to take a deep breath in. As we exhale, draw the knees into the chest, gently rocking side to side. Letting the knees lower down on one side of the body, the shoulders relaxing back and down. Take the heels down a little closer to the mat if you need to let the knees fully relax down and to keep the shoulders flat to the earth. Take a few deep breaths here, feeling and noticing where there's movement in the chest and belly. On the next exhale, taking knees to chest, rocking back onto the side. Deep breath in. On the exhale, letting the knees come to the other side. Towards the chest, gently rocking side to side or up and down, and then extending the heels long, either together or to opposite edges of the mat. Noticing the shoulders, seeing if we can create a little more space for these shoulders. Press your palms and forearms into the earth, press down into the head, draw your shoulder blades together down your back. Wiggle them down just a little bit more and relax your arms back down onto the earth. From here we can either leave palms down in a symbol of grounding and stability, turn palms upward in a state of receivership, or take hands to the body, letting them rest on the belly or the heart. Wherever your hands are, take your focus back to your breath. With each exhale, feel your body growing more relaxed. Starting with the crown of your head, working your way down. As you exhale, notice each of those muscles relaxing and sinking down towards the mat just a little bit more. Our hour has come to an end, but if you have the time and would like to remain in your Shavasana, your resting pose, for a little longer, I encourage you to do so. For those who have to get moving again, let's begin by slowly moving our fingers and our toes. Take a deep breath in, drawing in that light and energy. As you exhale, visualize sending that energy down to your fingers and your toes. Inhaling, drawing in that light or energy. Exhaling, sending it down to your wrists and ankles as you begin to rotate and move them. Inhaling light and energy once again. Exhaling it, seeing it travel down to the knees and the elbows as you begin to bend and lengthen. One more deep breath, sending energy in and down. Exhaling, taking knees to chest, gently rocking side to side. One more deep breath in, filling up completely with light and energy. Exhaling, feeling it surround and envelop your entire body. And then when you're ready, gently rocking to one side, pressing down into the earth, and coming back up to a seated position. Take a few clearing, cleansing breaths. And on your next inhale, sweeping your arms up overhead, palms together. Exhaling, hands down to heart. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.